Hello there, Matt here with 5280 Armory. Today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite types of rifles. For those of you that know me, you know that I'm a particular fan of the AK-47. This here is a Zastava M90 PS chambered in 5.56. The silhouette is undeniably a Kalashnikov, and for better or for worse, it's the most recognized firearm in the world. Our military has been dealing with some variation of this rifle since Vietnam, and if the Russians would have allowed it, we probably would have seen it in the Korean War as well. Zastava is quite old, actually. The company dates back to 1853. Their manufacturing includes things as large as artillery as well as small arms. So they're no newcomers to manufacturing firearms, although many of you may not know their name. Quite a few of you were introduced to this company about 15 to 20 years ago, although you may not have known it at the time. The wildly popular Yugoslavian SKS Model 5966 sold by the crate and the truckload. They were cheap, and man, do we miss the days of surplus firearms. This company has always had a very strong military atmosphere when it comes to production. After World War II, they continued to make a version of the Mauser called the M24, and also a version of the MG42 called the Serac 53. So it really doesn't come to any surprise at all that by the mid-1960s, they were chasing after the iconic communist Russian AK-47 design. The most popular model designed by Zastava and ultimately adopted by Yugoslavia was the M70 chambered in 7.62x39. Having firearms designs from the defeated Axis powers, not to mention the super powerful communist forces, in production at the same time seemed to make sense, so why not go after some of that NATO business while you're at it? Here we've gotten down two examples from our AK wall of East meets West. This particular gun right here is a version of the M77 chambered in 7.62 NATO, and it was imported from a company called Mitchell's Arms out of Santa Ana, California, which just goes to prove that California wasn't always under the complete control of anti-gun politicians. If you look at this receiver, you'll notice that there's a spot that has been scratched out. Up above it, somebody has inscribed M90. At one point, it probably did say RPK or AK-47. As a side note, I have seen other AK variants from this company that were different calibers or configurations. In an attempt to deal with California's 1989 weapons ban, many of these guns at that point became Model 90s. This next one is an example of an M90A underfolder chambered in 5.56. It was renamed the M95A, probably so it wouldn't match any known military models at that time, especially if they were specifically named in the assault weapons ban of 1994. I would like to interrupt for a second to make a quick statement. 5280 Armory has argued for a couple of decades now that the 1994 assault weapons ban erroneously labeled the banned firearms as assault weapons. It's our opinion that that is 100% incorrect. The semi-automatic firearms that were banned during that 10-year period never had select fire, or shall we say full auto capabilities, in the first place. And that's inconsistent with the definition of the term assault weapons in the Webster's or Britannica dictionaries, as well as other accepted documented sources. This proves the old adage that a lie will make it around the world before the truth can even get its shoes on. The phrase has been malused for so long now, by so many, that its true meaning has been redefined by some in politics to suit their agendas. All right, let's move on. The Yugoslav wars between 1991 and 1995 caused the UN to place sanctions on weapons import and export from this country. Some 25 years later, in 2019, the company announced the creation of Zastava Arms USA. So that brings us to today's rifle under the microscope. This is Zastava's PAP M90 PS. Yugoslavia is now Serbia, and they have an interesting story about how their AK variation came to be. And that story likely has something to do with why this near copy of the Russian AK-47 has always been a little different. The shortened version of the story goes that it took them quite some time to get enough information on how to reverse engineer this weapon. During that time frame and throughout its evolution, it began to develop some characteristics of its own. Some of the obvious differences are the longer forend, the RPK trunnion, the 1.5mm receiver, and the locking dust cover, to name a few, but there are others. At the muzzle we have a traditional slant brake. Underneath is the 14x1 left-handed threads. That'll give you the choice to add a different muzzle brake or even a suppressor if you choose. The barrel is just over 18 inches, and that's going to give a slight advantage on muzzle velocity and possibly accuracy over a 16-inch barreled M4. The barrel is chrome lined and it has a 1-in-7 twist. Those two choices are going to make it very attractive to some NATO countries that might be shopping this rifle for their military or police. Most commercial AKs don't come with an adjustable gas block, but this one does. It has 3 positions to deal with different conditions. It'll also come in handy if you plan on running suppressed. They chose to go with the Hogue forend. It's got slots on the side and it's pre-drilled on the bottom. That way you can install the Picatinny rails that they've supplied if you choose. The sights are fairly routine as AKs go. The front is adjustable for windage and elevation, and the rear has the tangent leaf, with ranges from 100 to 1,000 meters, although the company does state in the manual that its effective range is about 300 meters. It was mentioned earlier that the trunnion is one of the differences you see in the Serbian AKs. That coupled with the 1.5 millimeter receiver, that'll make it strong enough to deal with the grenade launching abuse that the military expects this weapon to manage. That makes this a heavy-duty AK for sure. Although most of you will never launch a grenade, it's nice to know that you can. The piston looks like the usual until you look at it from the top down, and that's when you're going to notice another deviation from the norm. This hollowed-out piston head can also be found in the Zastava M91. The company's saying this is going to delay the rearward movement of the bolt carrier group, resulting in a smoother cycling action and better accuracy. The beefed-up receiver does have an optics rail permanently installed. This will require a specialized mount, but this is my favorite way to mount an optic on an AK. I remember the days of the wobbly dust cover mounts that wouldn't hold zero, or the forend mounts that made it hard to have a magnified optic. This is just a better way to do it. To be fair, I don't think Mr. Kalashnikov got the memo on the benefits of a bolt hold open mechanism. This M90 is about as good as it gets. It comes with a magazine that has a bolt hold open follower, that coupled with the selector switch that's notched, so when the magazine holds your bolt open, you can move your selector switch up. That will hold the bolt open until you drop the selector switch down. In summary, I don't think this system's anywhere near as effective as our US design on the M16 M4, but once again, might as well take what you can get. This variation that we have here comes with the Magpul grip. It also comes with the Magpul Zhukov stock, side folding plus adjustable. These 2 US made parts are also going to help with the 922 compliance. Well, my 2 helpers over there are starting to get restless. That can only mean one thing. It's time to pack up the shooting bag. Let's go hit the range and do some shooting. I brought out the older version of our featured rifle today. This is an M90A, although the trunnion's marked M95A, and it was definitely reassembled from a parts kit. Well, whoever did the assembly on this one did a pretty good job. It's accurate. There's a lot of chatter out there about the M95A markings on this gun. Was it an actual Yugoslavian model? Was it done for import or export reasons? I'll let you be the judge. I'm not quite sure, to be honest with you. And this thing is doing really well for open sights. I'm quite pleased. The trigger gauge is telling me that I'm landing about mid-4, maybe 5 pounds on the trigger pull weight. That's pretty good for an AK. Let's shoot our first group just to see where we're landing on target. Plus we'll get a chance to get a feel for this trigger. All right, well, those holes are a little bit too small for me to see, so let's go down and take a closer look. Well, that's not a bad start considering I haven't even touched the optics yet. I'm going to slow down on this next group, see if I can tighten it up a bit, so I'll check back in just a minute. I'm still in the process of zeroing this rifle, but I think I'm close enough. I'm still hitting a little bit high, but it's good enough for steel. I'm about 55 yards down range. Let's have a little fun and let's put some rounds on that steel target down there. Yeah, I'd say we're doing pretty good. 10 shots, 10 hits. I've taken off the red dot. I'm gonna go magnified. I grabbed this off the Zastava M91. Let's shoot a group before we push it out a little bit farther and see where we're landing on target. All right, let's go check it out. Okay, I think that was good enough. Let's push it out a little bit further. Well, I think we got some hits on that. Let's go see how we did. Well, I think that's going to be good enough to hit that steel target, and honestly, I don't think I can resist, so let's put a few more rounds down range and hit that steel target. That's just the sort of follow-up accuracy I expect out of this weapon. I went over to the shop side and I grabbed a mag. Not even sure what country this is from. It's metal. Let's try the grab a mag theory. Let's see if it works. I'd say that's a yes. Of course, the bolt didn't hold open because it doesn't have the hold open follower, but that's okay. Worked just fine. I'm going to try this mag again. It worked the first time. I don't see why it won't work again. The guys are setting up the other side. They've got some surprises for me. I can't wait to see what they've done. All right, let's go. Well, I've had a ton of fun shooting this gun. It really hasn't let me down. Everybody knows how I love my AKs. So why don't you come on down and take a look. 5280 Armory, Colorado's gun shop. We'll see you soon. Hey, and don't forget, if you like watching videos about firearms and supporting your Second Amendment, or you're from another country in which you had a Second Amendment, do us a big favor. Hit that subscribe button so we can keep this channel going. And thanks for watching.